Welcome to the latest episode of Suunto Training and Physiology Education. Today our discussion will be about a recovery. What does a recovery state mean, and a bit of tips also how to recover better. Now you might have noticed our previous sessions which have been talking about different aspects in training, and we have been on these videos focusing on certain areas which are following the training model of Suunto. So we are looking in Suunto training as a training load with volume, intensity, impacts, frequency and so on. Then we look at the recovery, which is today's topic. So how do you manage this training load with the constant challenges on daily life with the recovery. And then there's of course, when you are looking at your training, you look at overall how do you plan every single day, every single week, every aspect of your life in order to then achieve some type of progress. So this circle represents a bit of thinking of what athletes usually have when they are figuring out how to get most out of the training sessions and fit the training in their daily life. And then of course there will be a race or some event, some goal that you are potentially preparing. So of course then that's the end goal that you will want to achieve. All right. So today we talk about recovery, and recovery has had I would argue that a lot of hype, even in the wearable industry in the last few years. And of course, this is one area that wearable devices like Suunto can actually help in your daily training sessions. But when we talk about recovery, I would like to talk more first about recovery state. So basically, when we talk about recovery state, it means that are you ready to train? If you are a professional athlete and you train a load of volume and intensity, you in practice probably are not ever fully recovered. It's just about understanding where your recovery state is and how much you can push yourself in each session. And we can measure somewhat this, but also there's a different ways of quantifying the aspects that might impact into your recovery state. And then the other aspect of recovery is that, of course, that are you able to enhance somehow the recovery? So is there some aspect in your life that potentially will limit your possibility to recover from the heavier training sessions? Is there something that you can do a bit better? So the recovery has these two things that we will talk today. So what's the recovery state, and then how you potentially can enhance the recovery. Now, when we look at the recovery state, let's talk first about one of the measurements that wearables can help. Suunto, for example, measures heart rate variability to understand your recovery state. We don't use heart rate variability only in a recovery. We also are using nowadays heart rate variability in training intensity measurements. So you might have noticed zone sense, which has been one of the previous episodes that we have had, where we have this unique feature of understanding the intensity of the exercise by measuring the heart rate variability. But when we talk about heart rate variability with recovery, let's first talk what actually heart rate variability means. So you can see here a heart rate beat or heartbeat and time between each beat. So if your heart rate is 60 times in a minute, so in average your beat is every single second. In practice, every beat has a bit of difference between beat to beat. So that comes to the term variability, how much difference there are between the different beats. So now you can look at here, this person's heart rate might be 60 beats per minute, but each time between beats is 1 second or 0.95 seconds and so on. And then usually when heart rate variability is analyzed from a recovery point of view, there is a evaluation called root mean square of successful differences, or RMSSD, that evaluates how much there is a difference between beats. And then when we look at the differences in heart rate variability, we can start to follow if the person is in a rest mode. So basically, there's a parasympathetic nervous system is up and running. You are like rest and digest. You are recovered. You are completely okay. There's a variability in the heartbeat to beat. But then when you start to be more stressed, it's more like a flight or fight mode. So basically, your heart rate variability start to diminish. It's not existing anymore. So you get a for heart rate of 60 beats per minute. It actually starts to be that every beat is every single second. So there's no variability anymore. And sympathetic nervous system has been kicked in, and you are in stressful situation. And then in principle, when we are measuring heart rate variability with these two different modes, in a sense, you can argue that there's when you are in fight or flight mode, you are stressed, you are tired, you need to recover, or then you are relaxed, recovered, and ready to go. So this is like a simple principle what we are meaning when we talk about heart rate variability and recovery. Now, it's good to understand that this variability has a huge difference between people, and the variability differs throughout the day. So in practice, when I'm here now, it's 3 p.m. here in Finland when we are recording this. I have been running out of the meeting to meeting the whole day. I'm pretty much stressed all the time because I'm not able to recover at any stage. So there is a quite low volume of variability in my heart rate if you would start to measure the heart. So during the daytime, normal day, normal living, you are pretty much stressed. There's no time to recover, so you are stressed or ongoing manner. And then when there's nighttime, usually the heart rate variability starts to increase, and there is this recovery happening. There is in this screen you can see a example of a study which had a almost 1,000 persons studied, and the heart rate variability with different people. So also if you are a younger person, you have more variability in your heartbeats, but then when you are a bit older, you can see that the lines are lower and lower throughout. So the last line is for people who are 55 to 67-year-old. So you can see that the range where the RMSSD value is like 20 to even 15, and then at night time it increases here to 30. But then when you are the younger guys, like 80 to 24-year-olds, they are like 45 decreasing to 25 to 30, and then at the night time they are going even up to 60 milliseconds for the RMSSD. So again, it is good to highlight that this is based also your age, but the key message here is that it's a different between what time you are measuring this. So if you want to measure heart rate variability as such and understand what is the difference, what is the change, are you more stressed right now or not, you would need to measure the heart rate variability at the same time of the day. And for example, good time is when you are waking up in the morning. Now, the challenge regarding measuring this heart rate variability is definitely that how you measure heart rate variability at the same time of the day to understand if there's a difference where you normally are. And this screen illustrates heart rate variability throughout the night, and you can see this heavy green graph which is this RMSSD throughout the night, and you can see a steady growth of the variability, which is illustrated here as a white line. So when you are sleeping, the variability increases throughout the night. And this is also a possibility for wearables then to try to measure consistent manner the variability from the people. So during the night time, there is of course differences throughout the night, but you can start to look at the average variability throughout the night and start to compare that in long term. And that's exactly what Suunto does. So when you are using Suunto watches nowadays, the latest products that Suunto is selling, we have the heart rate variability measurement in watch. So basically when you have sleep enabled in watch and you wear the watch throughout the night, it measures regularly your heart rate variability throughout the night, and then looks at what is the average variability during the night. So it gets basically, in a sense, one number from each night. And then, since we know that there's differences with people consistently from day to day, we then use the last 7-day average. So basically, last 7 days, what you have been doing throughout the nights, and then we compare that to your normal rate, which is a 2-month period. And the point there is that when this 7-day average is very close to your normal range, you know that everything is okay. You are as where you're supposed to be. But then, for example, if you have started to have a lot of stress, you might get sick, or you have a huge amount of other issues in your life, the latest values start to potentially decline, and you are out of your normal range. So when we are comparing your variability in the last few nights to your long-term averages, we basically know if there's a difference, and this difference means that there's some issues with your recovery state. So the heart rate variability is, in that sense, quite straightforward. We illustrate that in this kind of color coding. So green meaning that you are in normal range, everything's okay. Yellow means that the heart rate variability is outside of the normal range, so it's higher. So it might not be so normal for you. So it might be also indication that something is wrong. Even usually the higher heart rate variability is a good thing, but in this case it can also be indication that something is not really normal. And then if you are under that normal range, so you are in a reddish range, then it means that there is you would argue that there is now issue with your recovery state. We also illustrate usually always the today's and in mobile app also the yesterday's heart rate variability, so you can get a glimpse that is it getting better right now. But good way to measure your state based on what happens in your nervous system and how the variability is then impacted. Now, when we talk about recovery state measurement for athletes, one of the most used recovery measurement actually has been personal feeling, and Suunto has been measuring the personal feeling for last 12 years perhaps, and measurement is perhaps a bit strong word, because we are actually asking for the person who's using the watch that, hey, what was the feeling on this current session? And the feeling is just an indication that if you start to have a bit bad feelings of the sessions, you start to feel a bit moody, it's a potential indication that you are not fully recovered, you are not able to train properly, so there might be issues that the training sessions are too hard, or you might be getting sick or injured. So this personal feeling and how does this change is of course something that the coaches have been using with athletes for decades, and with Suunto watches, when you provide this feeling review after every single workout, you are able to see then in mobile application that how these categories has been changing and where is the current average in this week compared to long term. Again, because it's personal, somebody may feel every time excited, then you of course need to check that is there some changes that you are not fully excited anymore. So that's the thinking regarding feeling. I think we are almost the only wearable company nowadays who is actually trying to ask people how do they feel, and then take action on that. When we talk about recovery state, there are not that many things that can impact on that state, especially things that you can actually plan. But one of the things that you can really plan is, of course, the training load that you are doing. So the training stress balance that we have discussed already in previous episodes, but I will highlight still again from the recovery point of view. So in principle, training stress balance is comparing what are your normal training load in a longer period of time, and if I'm training more than what I'm used to, which also will be a bit of challenge potentially for a recovery. So if you are usually training 5 hours a week, if you suddenly start training 10 hours a week, most probably you might have a bit of issues of actually recovering from all of those sessions. So training stress balance is a good way to get a bit of insight where you have been. And just illustrating this in a slides as well. So you can see here a individual training sessions as a green dots with the training load measurement during the last 6 weeks. Then we in the previous episode we explained this, that you have a so-called chronic training load that looks at what is overall training load from that 6-week period, and then when we look at the last few days regarding acute load, if it's much more than what you are used to, then it means that the TSB, so training stress balance, goes to negative. So in practice you are more tired because you are now training much more than you are used to. And then in the same way, if you now start to train a little bit less, so the acute load is much smaller than the chronic training load, then it means that the TSB turns into positive, and in practice it means that you should be pretty okay from the training point of view to recover. So again, quite simple to understand what is the training stress balance. And what we do is we rate these TSB values in a certain grading. So if you are too negative, it goes to yellow and reddish, which is like -10 to -30, and then if you are positive side, meaning that you have been lately training less than what you're used to, it's then green and blue. So it's easy to fast glance at, okay, am I now doing more than I'm used to? So that's a good way of understanding the recovery state. So if you want to put these different metrics in some simple order, so heart rate variability is basically a readiness. Are you getting sick, or are you getting too tired? It's a measurement. It's not any kind of estimate. It's measuring the variability of nervous system throughout the night and tries to give you a bit of understanding where you are. Then there is a training stress balance that you are able to use for planning the recovery. Am I pushing too much or too little even? And then the feeling is like, is my personal feeling, is it everything going steady, or is it something that I'm doing wrong? So different aspects on the same thing. Now, when we then change the focus from the enhancing the recovery, from recovery state to enhancing the recovery, so what can I do better to recover? There's few things what you can try to do. So first of all, as mentioned, recovery happens mostly in sleep. So what you can do, sleep more. Quite simple. So that's why Suunto, for example, highlights when you have been going to sleep and how much you have been sleeping. So basically, there's not that many things that you can do to help recovery during the night time when you are sleeping, but at least what you can try to do is to go sleep earlier, and then the sleep volume will increase. And that sleep volume is definitely one of the key parameters to think about when you are really training, to ensure that the recovery is in best possible shape. Then, as mentioned, the training stress balance helps you to plan to recover. So basically, try to plan the recovery so that the training is progressive. Add some rest days, do some easier weeks here and there. And the tools that Suunto uses is training stress balance to illustrate does that impact the overall plan, overall load recently. Then perhaps some other aspects that might make sense when we talk about training. There's active recovery. So usually if you are pretty stretched and recovery is a bit poor, addition to sleep, you would argue that having light exercise might help to actually recover, because blood is flowing, pumping all the excess things from the muscles. We in Suunto, we actually also tag the workouts, and there's one tag which is a recovery workout. So basically it means that it's short enough, it's easy enough, and we tag it as a recovery. So you can then also follow that this was a recovery session or something else. Other things that you can think about is nutrition. That's something that Suunto doesn't really help in our products, but of course, in order to recover, you need to have the proper fuel carbohydrates, protein, especially on the heavier training sessions, during training and after training. And then the mental stress definitely will impact the recovery as well. Again, this is of course very personal, that what to do with that. But for example, exercising in the nature probably is one way of helping on that mental stress. Other proven tools might be illegal, doping or whatnot, but for normal people out there who are just training and trying to live a healthy life, sleep, nutrition, active recovery, and having some amount of mental stress removed in their life might be complete enough to really ensure that the recovery is enhanced as much as possible. So that's in short what Suunto has to offer for the recovery. So how do we measure recovery? How we illustrate the training stress balance with the recovery? Maybe measure feeling, and we try to engage people to add more sleep on their daily training to ensure that they have a more enhanced recovery while they are balancing all their training. That's it. Quite simple. Let's go out and running and then recover later. Thanks and see you next time. Bye bye.